viewers, I have this Avid BB7 disc brake caliper here. It's a bit dirty, and what I thought might be kind of fun is to take it completely apart and see what's all inside of it and how it works. I'm also going to clean it, lube it, put it all back together. So basically what I'm going to do is show you the process of doing like a service overhaul on it. But really, I just really want to take it apart and see what's all inside of it. So I just thought it'd be kind of fun. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to start off by removing these pads. What I need to do is take these two dials here and turn them completely counterclockwise, and that will move the pads out. So in this one I can use a, I think it's, T25 Torx driver to unscrew this. And so this will move the little pistons out, and then use some needle-nose pliers here. Grab these and slowly work them out. That looks like the spring's still in there. Push the spring out. Okay, so I got the pads out. So next thing I do is remove this little knob here. Use a little flat tip screwdriver and carefully just kind of pry it up a little bit. Like that. Now there's this little spring part on here, and I can kind of just pull that off like this. Put that aside. Next I need to remove this little nut that's holding the arm on there. So I'm going to hold the arm, and I'm going to use an 11mm wrench to turn that nut. That should be able to remove this arm there. So the arm, a little washer, and a nut came off of there. And I'll put these aside. And now I want to remove this spring and this little dust seal here. See if I can get this out of here. There we go. So there's the spring and the dust seal. And it looks like the spring goes through that little hole there in the dust seal. And another little washer here. Now this whole piston's kind of loose in there. Yeah, progress. Next I'm going to take the main body part here by removing this Allen bolt and this Allen bolt. It's a 5mm Allen bolt, so get like a ratchet wrench here and remove this bolt here. There's one bolt out. And the two bolts are different lengths, but should be easy to tell because this part's deeper here than this part, so it should be easy to tell which one goes where. And then there's this little like spring clip thing here. Put that aside. And there's a bearing came out. And there's two more bearings. Don't lose these. So there's three bearings. And then this part came out here. And I'll put that aside for the moment. So now I want to remove this piston from this half of the body. I also want to remove this plastic part here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this counterclockwise using my T25 Torx driver. And this will unscrew this out of this body, but also push this little plastic dial off here. So it's going to be a little tight. There. So I got the little piston out of there, and then I can just slide this little dial off here like this. And so I can go ahead and put this aside, and put this aside, and put this aside. So now I want to remove this piston here. So what I need to do is unscrew this little bit here. I can either use needle nose pliers, or if you have a Schrader valve tool here like this, you can fit this on there and then just go ahead and rotate this clockwise. So there's that. So now I have this all apart, and I'll put these parts aside. So I have the caliper completely disassembled here and a lot of parts, but how does it work? Well, let me show you. So this is part of the body here, and if you look inside the hole here, there are like 3 little channels in there, and the bearings will sit in those channels. So I'll drop those bearings in there. Like that. Now this part here also has little channels on the back side. Now this part will fit into here like this, and so those bearings are now trapped between the channels of this part and the body. So what happens is the arm will clamp onto there. So when this rotates, this part gets pushed out. So you can see that it's pushed out. And so you get the braking action. Now this part doesn't rest directly against the back of the brake pad. There's this part here, because see how this part rotates? Well, you don't want that rotating right against the back of the brake pad. So you have this little part here, which sets in here like a little table. And so as this rotates out, this doesn't turn. It'll just go right against the brake pad. It just kind of will push out against the brake pad, and you get the braking action. So that's how the braking action works. Now, what about the dials? What do the dials do? Okay, well, I'll show you. So this little part here threads into this part of the body like this. And so this dial rotates this around. And so as you screw this in, this allows you to adjust the brake pad when you're initially installing it. So as you rotate around, this will just push the brake pad in or let it go out a little bit. So you can adjust the brake pad on the one side. Then on the other side, you have this little part. This threads inside this little part, and then this little nib here sticks out. And so that the little dial will fit right onto that. So as you turn the dial, it rotates this part inside of this part here, which will push this part out or let it in a little bit. So you can adjust the brake pad on that side. So that's what those do. So now these parts are really dirty in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean them all up. The Avid manual actually says use alcohol, but probably what I'm going to use is like dish soap and warm water and a scrub brush and scrub them all up, get them all cleaned up. Well, I got all the pieces all cleaned up, and they definitely look a lot cleaner than they did before. So now I'm ready to start putting it back together. Now, Avid says to grease the parts, but it doesn't really say what kind of grease to use. So I'm going to go ahead and use marine grease because it's like water resistant and also works to higher temperatures. So I think this would be a good choice. I'm going to start off by lightly greasing the threads inside this part here. Just a light coating of grease. And I'm going to be playing with a Q-tip like that. And then the next thing is this little part here. I'm going to start threading this into here. Just start screwing it in. And I'm going to screw it in until it's roughly flush with the other side. And then I can take this part here and snap it into place like that. Next, I want to grease the threads around this part here. Just again, a very light coating around the threads there. And then this part is going to screw into this part here. And I'm going to use the Schrader valve tool here to go ahead and screw this in. So I can just rotate this counterclockwise and it'll screw out. kind of like that. So next I'm going to take this little part here and I'll just put a little bit of a grease onto the end of the ball here, like this. And then it'll go into the end of here and push it in, it'll snap into place. Take a little bit of pressure. There. And then next I want to grease these little slots, these little ramps here for the ball bearings. So I'm just going to lightly grease into there. And then I also want to put just a light coating of grease around this part here as well, so that it will rotate nice and smoothly in the body there. Okay, so now I want to get a little bit of grease down in the slots in here inside this body here, just a little bit. So just squirt a little bit into each little ramp. And they just kind of smear it around it a little bit in there. And then carefully place the bearings into the little ramps. And if you're wondering what size of bearings these are, they're 5/32 inch bearings. So you can always put brand new bearings in there if you want. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff to do on this next little step here. First, I want to get a little bit of Loctite blue around these threads right here, but I want to be careful not to get any Loctite blue down into that little hole there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some thread locker blue here, put it onto like a Q-tip here. And then just carefully wipe it around these threads a little bit. Now the next thing I want to do is I have the spring and this little dust seal here. Let me get this here. There's like this little hole in the dust seal there. That little hole is going to line up with this hole here in the body. So I'm just get this down into place, kind of like this. Next thing I want to install is this little washer with the hex opening in it. It's going to fit right over there and fall in around this little hex shaped part there. And now the spring. The next part is the spring. The spring has pins on both sides. One side, there's a straight part that comes out for the pin, and the other side does not have that. The part with the straight part here is going to be facing out. And so carefully take the pin on this side here, put it through the hole in the seal and down into the hole in the body, like that. Now, the next thing that's going to be installed is the arm here. So now the pin in the spring on that side is going to go into this little hole here. There's like a little threaded screw here. This little slot there, that's where the pin is in the spring is going to fit into. So just kind of carefully get that lined up. Bring this around here. And then what I'm going to do is I want to get the arm here lined up so that the hex shape in the arm is lined up with the hex shape on the stud. There. So now the next part that's going to fit on is this little lock washer here. That's going to be with the curved side facing down. So that'll go on there like this. And then this little nut is going to go on here and start screwing this on. And that's going to be an 11 millimeter nut. And so I have my wrench that I use to take it off and use this to tighten it on. And be careful not to over tighten it. There. So now if you got it together correctly, this should move nice and smoothly here. You got the spring action here, and you see this part come out there. And so if it doesn't move smoothly, take it apart, try again, and maybe the bearings got out of place or something didn't quite go right, but take it apart, try it again. So the next part is I'm going to take this little spring clip here. I'm going to slide this on here. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take this little nib here. I'm going to rotate this around so that it's in line with one of these lines there. And then I can take this part, slide it on, and I want to get this little slot here lined up with the nib there. And then this should just snap on like that. And so I got that part going. So now I'm ready to put the two halves of the body together. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take these bolts and put a little bit of Loctite blue on the threads there. And so now I can take the main part of the body here, and then there's this little spring clip here. And so these little tabs on either side are going to fit in the opening here. So I can just slide this in here like this. And then it's got the little flat part on the other side here. So this will fit there. And so the tab will fit kind of like in these little opening, little flats on either side here. So that's where that little spring thing goes there. And then these holes are lined up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the short screw first. No, actually, I'm going to put the long screw in first. So the long screw is opening here. So this will slide down into here. Get down into this opening here. And start screwing that in. It's a 5mm hex. And I'm not going to tighten it quite all the way yet. And then I want to do the screw in this other side here. And I'm going to have to move the arm to get the screw in there. So kind of pull the arm aside here, get the screw down through there, and then get it started into the hole on the other side here. And then I can tighten that one down, and then tighten this one down here. So now I want to torque these two bolts down. So I have a torque wrench here. It's a beam style torque wrench. And I want to torque them down to about 8.5 to 10 Newton meters. So I have a 5mm hex socket on there. And so I'm going to tighten this down. There's about 9. And I got to pull this arm out of the way here to get to this bolt. Get that in there. And then tighten this down to about, there's about 9 Newton meters. And so now I have the body all assembled there. So now I'm ready to install the brake pads. One thing I want to point out is there's a left side and a right side. So this one's labeled R, that's the right side. This one's labeled L, that's for the left side. And so the left side will be on the left side of the bike. It's going to be facing to the outside of the bike, that direction. And the R is going to be the inside of the bike. It's going this direction. So you want to make sure that you install them correctly. So this is the R one, and notice how these little nubs here are off center, and so is the hinge on this little spring. So what you're going to do is line up the little hinge on the spring between these little nubs here, and the frame of the spring here is going to go to the right along the outside of the actual brake pad there. So it's going to sit right into place like this, and so then the other pads just go right on top here again with the frame of the spring right alongside the edges of the brake pad. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this together, and again the L is going to go to the outside here. So I'm going to slide this into place, slide it in, and they should snap down into place. Make sure they're firmly seated in there. And then as you activate, actuate the little arm there, notice how it squeezes that together. And so you have your braking action. So that is how to disassemble, clean, lube, and reassemble an Avid BB7 disc brake caliper. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you found this video useful or interesting. If you did, please give my video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, click that subscribe button down there. Be sure to click the bell so you get notified when new videos come out. I'm over on Facebook, RJ the Bike Guy. Go over there, like that page over there. I post a lot of stuff over there. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching.